Welcome to Second Take, the show that focuses on the issues behind the news. African National Congress National Executive Committee member Dr Mathews Phosa has stressed the need to stop tinkering with sector charters and instead negotiate them in a manner that creates room for sizable growth. Martin Creamer joins me in studio to discuss this further. Hi Martin.
Hi Tracy.
What sparked these remarks from Mr Phosa, and what are his concerns?
Yes, he was speaking at the junior mining in Durban, and he was speaking to a lot of miners, and he said that he's also in the mining business. So he experiences the uncertainty repercussions, and the repercussions on funding, and the repercussions on timelines, you know, with what's going on in the department at the moment. And he feels that the way they're dealing with the charter, the mining charter, is tinkering, and it's creating an even worse situation because the game's rules are changed while the game is being played. And already he was saying, you know, it's so difficult to get a mining license. It's painful, he said. It was just a headache, along with the other licensing situations, and it could go into not just months but years, you know, while you waited for these licenses. And he was saying that you can't hold on to money and wait for situations like that. People will use that investment somewhere else because they have to get a quicker return. So these were all the issues that were raised in front of the packed house of really junior mining aspirants, to show that he's on the side of building a better industry and not just flooding it with red tape and changes all the time. And of course it comes after the Minister of Mineral Resources announced at the Highveld Steel this week that next week we can expect the gazetting of Mining Charter 3. Now when he says gazetting without actually doing much consulting, people are quite worried about what this gazette could contain.
And what is it going to contain specifically? What has been mentioned? And
at the Highveld Steel presentation, he mentioned designated mineral prices, that there could be a domestic price. Now, you'll see that in the mining space, normally these prices are internationally set. So if you get an iron ore price, it's the price that is used throughout the world. Or if you get a coal price, it's a price that's used throughout the world. For some time now, people have been lobbying for domestic prices. They want a domestic price. What they call it is a mine gate price. They're saying that, you know, as that material comes out of the mine gate, it's still domestic. It hasn't been put onto a truck or a train. It hasn't been exported out of the country. So therefore all those logistics costs are not incurred. So if they could take that material at the mine gate and then see to the logistics, they could use it domestically and probably get that advantage of the local mining. And he mentioned at Highveld that this is what you asked for. So I don't know whether he's responding to something in the steel industry, and maybe this affects iron ore, but his message was very laconic. It was brief. People could only speculate because he didn't give much information and spoke of the gazetting next week, so people have to wait for it. So this idea of a domestic price is really there to try and help local manufacturing. So if you're going to use that iron ore to make steel and you're doing it locally, he's suggesting that if you have a two-tier pricing, one for the domestic, it could give those manufacturers who are giving jobs here locally an advantage rather than subject them to a global price which is influenced by global activities. Whereas if you want something locally, you know, you sort of say, well, why can't I get it? It's mine down the road, and not pay all those transport prices. But this creates a lot of anxiety within the industry. I can imagine that it could set the cat among the pigeons. because a lot of the mining majors have been worried about this for some time.
And you talk about anxiety. The minister mentioned that he foresees resistance with regard to the designation of minerals. Why so?
Well, I think that various heads of major companies, when they have got into public positions like being presidents of the Chamber of Mines, many of them have spoken out about the dangers of this dual pricing idea. You know, they feel that this could undermine South Africa as a contributor into the world market. Others do point to worrying, lack of transparency in the setting of these prices. Often you get astounded because you'll see a global price that will reflect maybe a shortage, whereas we could have a local abundance. But this is how these global prices work, and it's hard to change something that has been cast in stone for so long. And it could create a situation where there's a lack of confidence among investors again, because they see South Africa moving out on its own in a sort of a unilateral action on how they're going to price things. That could backfire, and people have spoken about this, that the two prices for the same thing worries them, and in some rules and some jurisdictions that would probably not fit the law because they'd start worrying about the World Trade Organization rules and all that sort of activity. We'll have to wait and see exactly what comes up. Maybe what he mentioned there will have a different detail in the Gazette. We'll have to see. But there is concern that he goes out on his own and he doesn't consult much with the industry, and they fear that that could have some backlash.
And at the Junior Ndaba, Phosa also demanded action against illegal mining. What are his thoughts on this issue?
He is the former Premier of Mpumalanga, and the reports that I'm receiving out of Mpumalanga and parts of Limpopo and even the Northwest is that there are people who live there who are just getting involved in extracting metals and minerals from the earth, a lot of it on surface and a lot of it underground. They've just got total freedom, it seems, to break the law. They actually, I hear in the chrome space, there's a lot of activity where people are extracting the ore from the earth, compiling it, putting it sometimes through recognized formal smelting situations. How it gets there, nobody knows. There's their collection points. So it's getting fairly organized in what we know as illegal mining. They don't pay taxes, they're not registered, they haven't got any licenses, they don't bother about any official route that needs to be taken. And there's a groundswell of this. We're hearing it all over. And he said that he went along to the Minister of Mineral Resources and said to him, this is undermining confidence. People are too scared to invest. Not only do they not get their licenses, but they're finding that people aren't bothering about licenses, and they're actually extracting these metals and minerals and have got a network of sales, and this is just going through the system. And he pleaded with the minister to do something about it. And he said the minister said he would. So he said, well, we'll just have to wait and see. We see in other activities, some people are trying to work with the illegal miners, which we refer to as zamazamas. And we had an example of a gold mine, a small gold mine now in KwaZulu-Natal, Klipval, which has actually reopened. And it's reopened under the leadership of a very well recognized mining leader. The chairman, is Graham Briggs, who is the former CEO of a listed company, listed in Joburg and New York, Harmony Gold. And what he's done, he's gone down and worked with these illegal miners and said to them, you've got to work in a safe environment. We will make the environment safe for you, and you then must provide us with you must provide us with a set amount of material, say a ton of material. You deliver a ton of material to this collection point, and that will be worth this amount to you. And they've set up cooperatives. Reports coming out of that, and Morel has taken this over. A company has taken this over. They are reporting that these miners are motivated, and they're also saying they're self-disciplined. And a lot of the community are saying, hey, we need these guys because there's no other work here. So they've taken these people from being illegal miners to being legal miners, created cooperatives, and are possibly going to do quite well, because you're not seeing a situation where people are paid per hour or per month. They paid per output, a set output. So it becomes task-based. So that can really increase productivity and efficiency and give you a clear idea of your costs. So the jury's out on it, but it is actually happening now. There's been this conversion in KwaZulu-Natal, and people are going to wonder how they can succeed with this, but they seem to be doing it against the framework of all the laws. They're complying with the safety laws. They're complying with the laws for cooperatives that we've got. All the legislation has been adhered to, and now they're expecting, well, it's a small mine, they're expecting about, I think, 15,000 ounces, 12 to 15,000 ounces of gold in the first year. So we'll see how that goes.
So in essence, illegal mining is having an impact on investment in the sector. But how does Phosa think people can go about increasing foreign investment in South Africa's mining sector?
Yeah, I think it's all about putting yourself in the place of the investors. He was saying that he's also in mining, and you're reluctant to invest because there's so many obstacles. So we must think of these offshore investors. We should be rolling out a red carpet for them, because they're bringing their money in, and they're going to create a lot of benefit for South Africa. They're going to export, they're going to be creating jobs, and just that foreign currency coming in is very, very important. And so he had a whole list of things that he thinks should happen in South Africa, and at the Indaba many others came through, and one foreign investor said, the way I see it is when we come in from the outside, this is what happens. He says, I'm telling you, this is what happens. He said, I'd like to compare it to a soccer match. He said, you all love soccer, South Africans all love soccer, they'll understand this. There are 11 people in a soccer team. When we come in, they say, no, you're only allowed 7 people. And then they say, and your goalkeeper, no, he can't use his hands. We've got to tie his hands behind his back. And you're saying that's how he perceives the approach here in South Africa. Totally unfair. So he says, and he's got a whole list of countries where, people have mandated him and saying, you can go into these countries. He says South Africa just doesn't feature, not even on the alternative possible investments. It's just off the map. People are just not wanting to come near the place. And he's saying that's how they perceive it. So this was the constant message coming through at this Indaba, that you can't raise funds for investment in South Africa. And Mathews Phosa was saying how bad this is for us, and how we should make sure that when we have a charter, we should be negotiating in such a way that we can ensure sizable economic activity here. But the opposite is true, and people are sort of going it alone and coming through with a tinkering, as he calls it, and then that sets off a whole new bout of uncertainty, and we're just not even getting to home base here.
Thanks, Martin.
It's a great pleasure, Tracy.
That's it for today. Join us again next week for more news analysis on South Africa's mining industry.